Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm here in a new filming spot location because guess what? We have that one car that definitely is fun to drive through the twisty bits. It's this car right here. This is the all-new 2023 Nissan Z. This particular one is the performance trim. But before we get into this iconic Japanese sports car, let's talk about what's going on here. You would have to be living under a rock 20,000 leagues under the sea to not realize that Nissan brought a redesign for this vehicle. Now, what's interesting is that they know this is not a car that's going to blow the doors off of a C8 Corvette Stingray. What this new Z is all about is driving engagement, enjoyment, and of course, that great Z DNA. Now, over the years, the Z has changed in its size, proportions, and purpose, but what's interesting, with this new Z, we bring back turbocharged power, actually twin turbocharged power. So what I want to find out is, if you're looking for a new performance car, and there is actually a ton to look at, especially with the upcoming new redesigned Mustang GT, is the Z the letter of the alphabet you should be looking for when buying that new performance car? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, the color. This pearlescent, sparkling white is spectacular in the Florida sun. Sometimes it looks like it's a satin color, sometimes it looks a little silver. Definitely shows the body lines very well. Now, there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion over the front end of the vehicle. I think one thing for certain is that they nailed the headlight design. I love the way you got the turn signals LED. Those are also your daytime running lamps that are LED, and you got LED headlights. Working your way down, I think this is where, with the upcoming Nismo Z, this is where you're gonna see some changes to this area. Kind of interesting how it's got this edge that comes out. You would think from an aerodynamic standpoint that would not be very efficient. Maybe would have been cool to have that actually be some type of vent to bring cooling for the brakes up front. But still undeniably new and undeniably Z. Now, as we come across the front, I think for a lot of people, it's a love-hate relationship. I think some people love the overall shape of the grille area, that rectangular squared off design. Some people wanted something maybe a little bit more curved, but definitely full functionality up to top. You have these large rectangles that flow air and have a nice gunmetal finish. And then on the bottom portion, you just have two of those large shapes, all in flat black. The way they extend out the front splitter not only gives it a nice aggressive look, but that's gonna help scoop tons of air, just like as if you went to Baskin-Robbins and tried all 37 flavors, you could actually get all that air scooped in there. Try to stop the air from going underneath the vehicle. Now, of course, we got the new Nissan badge, lots of changes with Nissan, including that badge. And then when we get up under the hood, I kind of like what they did. You have a nice peak in the center, and then it plateaus into this semi-bulge. And if you look at an original 1969 Nissan 240Z, it's got that same overall kind of shape to it. Now, when we come around the bend, because we have the top performance trim, check out our wheels and tires. 19-inch, these are raised, forged aluminum wheels. Like the way they're going with good brands, good quality stuff. Gunmetal metallic, sort of like a Y-spoke, V-spoke all the way around. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what kind of size tires do we have up front? You have 255 on the width, 40 series sidewall. You can see our large, bright red calipers with the Nissan badging on it. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what's the size of those rotors? They're a little over 14 inches in diameter. And then remember, because this is the performance trim, they went around the car, retuned the shock absorbers, the rest of the chassis to really help get you through those twisty bits that I'm gonna take you on very, very soon. Now, as we come down the side, super clean, and that's all we need. I don't need fake vents. I don't need a Pep Boys special stick-on vent. Looks great. You got your two-tone. When you go performance, it automatically comes two-tone. So we have our painted roof with the A-pillars, mirror caps, with the turn signals, and then you have that samurai sword that actually helps split the white from the black. At first, I didn't like this, but I'm actually digging how they did that design and how it really comes to a nice point on the rear fender. We got our iconic Z badge, lots of history there. And remember, this is not a 400Z. This is just called the Z. And the reason why is the number's always been based off displacement. Last generation was a 3.7 liter naturally aspirated V6. This has a 3 liter twin turbo V6. So to call it the 300Z or 300ZX, Nissan didn't like that idea, so they're just gonna call it the Z. Love the way they upgraded the door handles. It's almost like a nice flush mount. Looking great, definitely an improvement from the previous gen, and especially on that bottom portion, that flat black sill extension to help channel the air past the rear fenders. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the car. That sexy rear fender, look at it sparkling like a diamond in the sun. And the reason why we had that flared rear end is that, guess what? We have wider wheels and tires at the back. You still have those raised forged wheels, 275 on the width. So 255 up front, 275 on the rear. Of course, you got a limited slip diff, that performance differential to get the power to the ground, but I'm telling you, this is absolutely one of my favorite parts of the car. Now, when we come around the back, the tail end, I kind of am digging how they did it. They brought that two-tone into the rear hatch. So this doesn't open, all of this opens. But you can see how they brought that gloss black paint all the way around, looking good. Let me show you a little Easter egg. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if Steven's gonna be able to pick it up, but right there, it says since 1969. That was the birth of the original 240Z. Now, on the back end, we took a little bit of styling, or they took a little bit. I didn't design this, Nissan designed it. They took a great little piece of their history from that 1991 300ZX, the Z32. I love the way that they did the lighting. And then coming across the center, you do have some gloss black, nothing too crazy. Of course, our Nissan badge that actually hides the button to pop the rear hatch, which I just popped it, which I'm not ready to show you that. No. That was pre-pushing of the button. Of course, we got another Z, let people know behind you what the heck they're looking at if they're blind. And then working your way down, the performance spec has a different exhaust, larger exhaust. I like the way it's got that design all the way around the outer rim portion. It's a slash cut, both sides functional, real sound coming out the back with a sexy diffuser area. But why don't we go ahead? We got this car. Let's pop the hood and take a look at that twin turbo V6. All right, guys, we got the hood popped just like the original 1969, technically 1970. That's when they first sold it here in the United States. Back then, original prop rod. We got it back on this new Z. Underneath the hood, you're gonna see a massive strut top mount brace there and a decent engine cover. It's what's under the engine cover that really matters. What are we looking at? We're looking at that 3 liter twin turbo V6, 400 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque. The great thing is that you get to have it your way with this power plant. And what I mean by that is you get to pick the gearbox. You could have a 6-speed manual or a 9-speed automatic. That is new for 2023. Previous gen had a 7-speed automatic. 0 to 60 with the automatic, 4.2 seconds, quarter mile in 12.9 at 112 miles per hour. Here's the shocker. The vehicle is governed to 155 miles per hour. MPGs, 18 in the city, 24 on the highway, and the Z weighs 3,507 pounds. But nice that they give you the choice to have the automatic or to have the manual. It's like going to Burger King and having it your way. But you know what? I want to hear if this thing will give us an eargasm. If you're ready, I'm ready. Get your tissues set up. We're going to fire it up and see if we have a little eargasm. All right, guys, we're inside this 2023 Nissan Z. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, back when I was in college, I had a 280Z. I actually met my wife and drove her to the hospital when she was ready to give birth to our first son. I haven't had a Z since then, and you know what? Our kids have moved out, and now I have some money that I could spend on myself instead of them. Finally, after 35 years, they moved out. How much is this Z? Because I want one. I want to relive those days, but I also want to go on throttle right now in the present. How much is it? Very good question. This one being a performance trim, MSRP, real simple, $53,000. Let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. Now, what's interesting is that there's some previous generation pieces, but there's also some new pieces. The top black portion is all soft touch material. You'll notice the door handle and that AC vent in the door looks very familiar. It's straight from the previous generation. I love the way that this one, though, has the two-tone. That bright red leather trim with the stitching looks absolutely fantastic. You got Alcantara microfiber suede material on the door panels and the armrest. No gloss black. The only challenge is that the door pocket is really small. You can only fit 2 hot apple pies from Mickey D's and a small coffee in there. And then, of course, we got the Bose sound system. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, I do like the way this is very far forward for the passenger, but this is very similar. This area is very similar to the previous gen, but that two-tone, let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. I'm really digging how that looks in this vehicle. I like the way they kept the gauges up top, the triple gauges. This is something that the Z is famous for, especially in those early generations, and I'm super glad that they just went all analog. On the previous gen, they had like a clock, this Casio red LCD display clock, which just ruined it for me. But you got your boost gauge, you got turbo speed, and then you got your voltmeter. Really nice to have that. You can see how they did the AC vents, and if you notice, they did sort of the same shape as the grille material. You got an all-new 9-inch infotainment system. Let's be honest, it's got navigation, but it is the previous generation software that's going through it. I'll throw it into reverse. Backup camera needs to be a little brighter and a little bit clearer, but you do have trajectory. So when you're backing up for cars and coffee, you're not going to look like a jamoke when you park all crooked. You'll be nice and straight. Just use your trajectory lines and pay attention. Put it back into park. Working our way down, you have the old school analog setup for your AC. So you have, it's not dual climate, you have your blower, you have your temperature, and then you have your directionals. USB-C, USB-A, and you got a place for 3 Twinkies down below. You got your D mode. What the heck does that mean? Get your mind out of the gutter. It's not that. It's to go into sport mode. It's either sport mode or not. Standard, sport. That's all you got to do. And I'll show you what that does on the business end. We have the new electric shifter for the 9-speed automatic. Kind of interesting shape. Soft material that's flat black. You pop your rear hatch. All of these buttons are from the previous gen. So you got your rear hatch, 2 stages of heated seats, good old-fashioned e-brake, so you could swing it out Han style from Fast and the Furious. 1 cup holder. You're probably saying, well, Joe, what about for my other passenger? Well, watch this. There's the other cup holder. We still have the same key fob that Noah used on the Arc, but it works well, and as long as you don't put it in the wrong pocket, it will not poke you in the family jewels. This is nice and soft. Open it up. You have some felt lining in there. You have a 12 volt, and that's where you could keep that class ring of your girlfriend that became your wife, that became the mother of your children when you met her in college. You could keep that in there. And like I said, relive those memories. You might not want to have another kid after your other 2 stay in the house until 35. It's up to you. Seats. I like the leather style material on the headrest. You got the Alcantara micro suede material. Power adjustments for the passenger. They restructured the seat material too. These are actually more comfortable than the previous gen. I have full power assist. And as you can see, I'm 6 feet tall. Actually a pretty good amount of space in here. So if you want to do a track day, this will be a fun car to do it in. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind the steering wheel in this all new Z. All right, guys, business time. This is where you want to be sitting. I like the way they have this black chrome sill plate with the Z badge that lights up at night. Pedal box looking good. Aluminum dead pedal. brake pedal and throttle. And like I said, you could get that third extra pedal and go 6-speed manual. And then you'll notice on the sides here, the great bolstering. And if you're wondering, well, what are these for? This is actually to adjust the pitch of the bottom portion of the seat and also the back. It sort of like allows you to level it off. And then I also have a manual control to adjust the actual lumbar support, which is nice. You don't have those controls on the passenger seat. Steering wheel, leather all the way around. I like the way they did this thin spoke design. Looks like a classic old steering wheel with the new tech. I wish they would have just gone flat black though, a little gloss black heavy where you're gonna be pushing buttons and stuff. You do have paddles because we have the automatic to go up and down, that 9-speed automatic. It is a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then you have that new ginormous digital display. Love the way it's got the Z illuminated in the center. You got that nice tachometer, all the important gauges, and watch what happens. There's your sport mode. So you got your 2 different modes, sport or standard. I wish that the gauges changed a little bit when you went in sport. Like they got like crazy or something, like with some color, or maybe change the font or something like that. But we do have all the gauges and they look good, easy to read. There's no back seat, so we don't have to worry about that. But why don't we go ahead, check out the cargo area, because the twisty roads are that away and you're coming with me. Let's go do it. Guys, we are in the new Z. I have the D mode selector in sport, manual shifting with the pedals. If you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Yeah! All the way up to that 7,000 RPM red line. Nice turn in. Love the sound. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about what the hell just happened here. So, it's interesting because having this car for a few days compared to just one media drive event and switching between the manual and the automatic, you start to pick up on some of the nuances of this vehicle. First of all, you got that twin turbocharged V6. Sounds phenomenal. It really pulls nicely, especially from 4,500 all the way up to the 7,000 RPM red line. Feels really good. You got a nice size gear indicator. You got those cool Formula One style shift lights right above the tachometer in the center. The only thing I'm really noticing is that this car is a little soft. And what I mean by that is a couple different ways. When you hit the paddle, it takes a couple nanoseconds. And it's funny because I felt it a little bit during the media drive event, but I'm feeling it a lot more now driving it continuously throughout the day. And that, it doesn't matter whether it's the upshift or the downshift, that's happening. Another area where it's soft is in the suspension. A little too much body roll for my liking, especially if you're comparing this to other performance cars. All right, guys, once again, let's do some on throttle from a desktop. Remember, you do have launch control. On throttle, here we go. Nice. Like I said, just a little slow with the shifting. Brakes feel good. Just the suspension needs to be stiffened up a little bit. Nice, good, nice turn in. Feedback through the steering wheel is strong, and you can actually move the car around with the rear end. This is a telling sign right here. Left, right. See, there's just, it's like there's some roll, and then she bites and holds, but it's that initial roll, that jelly roll, that I'm not really digging. And that is where, when a confidence standpoint, it feels good once it falls on that tire, you're good, but it's just that initial transition to that point, which you don't get that in a Supra. You don't get that in a lot of other cars in this segment. But we're gonna do some more and see how it goes. All right, guys, once again, like I said, launch control, it's real simple. Left foot on the brake, Right foot on the throttle, release on throttle, here we go. Love the freaking sound though. They got that button down. Here we go. All the way to 7,000, baby. On the brakes. Just need a little bit more grip on that front end. Yahoo! Still fun, I'll tell you that much. So definitely more power and more exhilarating than the 370Z. No doubt about that. It really builds steam from that 4,500 all the way to 7,000 RPM. She really builds speed very nicely. The problem is a little too much wallowing on the brakes. What I mean by that is that the car kind of dances around a little bit. I like, and what any person that drives a performance car is gonna like, is when you're on the brakes, you get the weight transfer and she stays stable. With this car, she kind of wallows a little bit. And if you're ready for it, you're good. But I could see some people that maybe are not as experienced that will jump off the brakes, and that's gonna make it worse. So just something to be aware of, that this is more of a GT sports car. It's very comfortable when you're driving it on the highway, you're picking your kid up at school. If you turn up the wick, you can, and she will respond, but it's just not as buttoned down as some of the competition. But like I said, the days are numbered where these cars are not gonna exist anymore. And if you've always wanted a Z, this is definitely an improvement over the 370. Now it's gonna be interesting because they are gonna come out with a Nismo version, and will the Nismo version correct everything that I'm talking about? Plus, on top of that, this is the one with the slush box, the automatic, and that's just kind of taking away a little bit from the engagement. But from a fun factor, hell, this thing is one hell of a ride, and you're gonna get the looks. I got people giving me thumbs up, I got people waving. They love it, they love the Z. But we need to go on throttle again. I'm gonna do this time from a roll, second gear, right at 5,000. On throttle, here we go. Nice. Here we go, decreasing radius, baby. Woohoo! A freaking blast to drive. Are there other choices? Sure, but this one definitely does check off a lot of boxes. But we need to get back to where it all started before I get myself in trouble and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been one of those kinds of days that, man, do I love driving these cars on the twisty bits, because it really allows us to showcase what's good and maybe what's not so good. But we definitely got to thank everybody at Nissan USA for getting us access to this Z press fleet vehicle. Let me know in the comment section, if you were gonna drop the money and buy a new performance car, is this Z the one that checks off all the boxes for you? Let me know in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Ladies Rides family. Of course, we got to give it up to Stephen Flood, Stephen Flood Photography. Check him out on Instagram. It's real simple. Stephen Flood Photography. That's what he's at. But also, I got to commend him. He got his 10th samurai sword for his collection. He's a big collector of Japanese culture, and samurai sword is what he's all about. So show him some love in that comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.